Good morning. This is Caitlin at the Creation Museum. I'm at the petting zoo with Leanne and Tim, and we have an exciting announcement for you guys this morning. We're also going to be doing some little animal encounters, right? So, Leanne, you want to take it from there?
Sure. Okay, so guys, today we have a big announcement of some new animals we have here at the Creation Museum Zoo. So earlier this spring, a lot of people know Norman. He was our miniature Jersey steer. He actually passed away earlier this spring. So it was kind of weird not having a cow around here. Yeah. So about 2 weeks ago, we were able to acquire 2 mini Zebu steers. So we have George and Ferdinand. So we're going to go around and meet them now. Awesome. So we are currently in our Camel Ride arena. So we'll let our alpacas and our donkey, our sheep and goats, and now our new mini steers up here to graze. So this is Ferdinand and George.
So cute.
Ferdinand, they're still a little bit shy, so we'll have to see how close they let us get. So Ferdinand is the one here, the darker one, he's got the red tint, and then George is the little gray one over there. So these guys are mini Zebu. Zebu are native to Asia, so this type of cattle was domesticated in Asia. So they're a little bit different than when you normally think of a cow. So all of our European species like the Angus, the Jersey, the Hereford, they are actually 2 different species. The European species is called Bos taurus, whereas the Asian species of cattle is called Bos indicus. They are very closely related. These guys actually have some Carenti in them, which is a Spanish breed of cattle, so they're not pure Zebu. Their father was actually a Carenti, and their mothers were mini Zebu. So these 2 boys came from Indiana. A family over in Indiana contacted me. I had put out some requests on a couple of different sites asking for people that had mini Zebu calves for sale. So these guys came from a farm over in Indiana. So George was born March 7th of this year, and Ferdinand was born March 28th. So these guys are still babies. As I said, they came here about 2.5, 3 weeks ago. So we've been kind of letting them settle in, kind of letting them get to know us before we introduce them to the public. So we're using actually this announcement today so that we'll actually have these guys on exhibit. They will be on exhibit for limited amounts of time because we are trying to let them adjust to being out around a bunch of people. So they'll be out from 2:30 to 3:30 every afternoon. And then in the mornings, sometimes they'll be up here in our Camel Ride track, so you can come into Pavilion 4 and you might be able to see them. And then some mornings they'll be in the zoo. And then again in the evenings, since we're open till 8 o'clock now for the summer, some evenings they'll be on exhibit in the zoo, and then some evenings they'll be up here grazing, being cows. So these guys, the first time we let them up here, it was really cute. They started bouncing all over the place. They were so excited to be out on grass. So we had a bunch of fun letting them out into grass. They really love bamboo, we found. So we do a lot of enrichment here at the zoo. So we're starting to do things with these guys, and we found that hanging bamboo in their barn is currently their favorite. They're still very suspicious of produce. George does like apples. George is also, we have a petting zoo food. People can feed our animals here. George does like the petting zoo food. Ferdinand is being a little bit more picky about his foods, but he is the more friendly of the 2. So we've actually gotten a halter on Ferdinand. We're just taking it really nice and slow, kind of letting them get used to us. So our Ferdinand does wear a halter several hours a day. George is still being a little bit shy, so we're just giving him a little bit more time. We can walk over here closer to him. They're just kind of like, oh, they're over there. We're just going to kind of go over here.
So you said they're fairly shy right now.
Yes, they're coming along quite quickly though.
Yeah.
Since they are babies. Hey Tim, can you go and see if we can push them back over here a little bit. Since they are babies, we're going nice and slow with them. We're
Sure.
taking our time. Basically, every time we feed them, so they get fed, they get grain 3 times a day because they are still pretty little guys. So what we'll do is we'll go in there and sit with the buckets. So they basically have to eat almost from our hands. So that's one of the good ways to gentle an animal, get them used to being around you.
Oh, there they are.
They hopped up on the hill.
So the name Ferdinand sounded familiar to me, but where do the names come from?
Okay, so George, our steer Norman, his original name from the people we got him from was actually George.
Oh, okay.
So we named George kind of
Aw.
to remind us of Norman.
Oh, that's sweet.
Also, it's a fantastic name for a steer.
It is.
Ferdinand, of course, comes from the children's book.
Yes, yeah.
And when I saw the one was red, I was like, okay, we need to name that one. We need to name that one Ferdinand.
Yes.
Also, it fits because the book is set in Spain, and of course, their dad was a Carenti, which is a Spanish breed of cattle.
That's perfect.
So it all kind of fit together.
Yeah.
We think their names fit them very well.
Yeah.
They're just fantastic.
Yeah.
So Zebus are pretty cool little cows. As I said, they were developed in probably India, Sri Lanka area. This breed was domesticated. There are still some wild Zebu actually in India. So this breed is pretty old. They've been around for quite a while, so probably not too soon after the Ark landed. These guys would have migrated, the bovine kind would have migrated over into India, and this breed would have developed from there. So if you notice, they have, especially on Ferdinand, he has a very loose skin. Tim is on cow wrangling duty today. If you notice, when Ferdinand comes back up, he's got a very loose skin. He's got a very kind of flappy chest. That's called their dewlap. That is standard for the breed. So this really loose skin actually helps them stay cool in the hot weather. So this breed is perfect for hotter climates. So you'll find them in hotter areas. There's also Zebu in Africa as well. So two kind of, there they go, he's trotting. He's showing off the Zebu trot. So this, as I said, this breed is really heat tolerant. They actually like being in the heat. They don't mind the heat. They're being all kinds of spunky today. I have never seen them do this. And they also, that loose skin actually keeps them from getting a lot of flies on them. So they can kind of wiggle the flies off really easy. So these guys are perfect for the heat. They do just fine in the cold. Here at the museum, of course, we have a barn. So this winter they will have a nice heated, insulated barn to live in. So they'll be perfectly fine. These guys are a smaller breed. They usually weigh between 200 and 400 pounds when they're done growing. And they can get to be about 42 inches tall, so about waist height or a little bit taller than that. So they are going to be a smaller animal. So our long-term plan with these guys is, of course, to take them out up front to do our critter encounter or critter close-ups that we do up in front of the museum every morning. So hopefully we'll get them into that rotation at some point, probably not till this fall. Once again, we're just trying to gentle them, get them used to and comfortable around us first, and then we'll kind of work from there. And I would love, Zebu are actually used a lot for pulling things, so I would love to train them to pull something.
Oh, that'd be fun.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We shall see.
Yeah.
But of course, in our Christmas Town event, these guys will also, feature into our nativity up front as well. Hopefully.
So that'll be a fun thing this year to look forward to.
Yes. So these guys, they're really cool. We're really excited to have them here. We're really excited to have them. So, and there they are again.
Are they very playful?
Yes. So I mean, cows in general tend to be pretty playful animals, and calves, baby cows, they are probably some of the most playful, curious animals you'll meet.
It's funny because you might not think so if you didn't know them well.
Cows are very curious, which actually works to our advantage as we're trying to gentle these guys, because they like to come up, sniff you, check out if you bring something new in their barn. Last week I brought their halters in the barn for the first time, and they were coming up and licking and chewing on their halters because something new and different. We like something new and different. So yeah, they're very curious. Ferdinand actually, the other day I was giving them their their afternoon grain, and he came in and he was eating, and then he just started licking my face. So I had grain like all over my face, but I couldn't move because I was like, no, I need to just stay here and let him lick. I don't want to scare him. So I had like grain all over my face from him. So they're just really curious little guys. So I'm really interested to see, now that we're going to have them on exhibit, how they interact with our guests and how curious they start getting of our guests as well. So we will have a zookeeper in with them when they're on exhibit from 2:30 to 3:30, just to ensure that they're comfortable and our guests are interacting with them in a good way. And also to answer our guest questions as far as what are they, their names, kind of some fun facts about the zebus.
Right.
So.
And speaking of questions, if any of you have any questions, feel free to send those in the comments, and we can try to answer those today. So we're in the Camel Rides pen. Do you want to talk just a little bit briefly about the Camel Rides that we have
Yes,
here?
of course. So we do Camel Rides. Right now we're doing 7 days a week, so we're going Sunday through Saturday on Camel Rides. Our rides are 1 o'clock in the afternoon till 4:45. We have 2 camels here that do rides, CJ and Gomer, which we're going to go and say hi to in a little bit here. So they alternate days of who does rides. On a super busy day, we will pull both of them into the ride track to do rides. But it's a lot of fun. We have people of all ages riding. So kids have to be about 36 inches tall to ride. That is just in case the camel decides to do something goofy. They can hold. They're big enough to hold on. But we've had adults as old as 93, 94 ride. So really,
cool.
any age can ride the camel. It's a lot of fun.
Awesome. Yeah. Cool.
So it's $5 per rider. So. Okay.
And that's an additional cost, but the petting zoo is included with your general admission when you visit the museum.
Yes.
And same with Ark Encounter at Air Rat Ridge Zoo.
Yes. Go visit Air Rat Ridge Zoo at the Ark Encounter, and of course come out and see us as well. So we have some really cool animals in our exhibits, and it's really fun to check out.
And for those that are just joining, could you say the times again for when the mini steers are on exhibit?
Yes, so mini steers will be on exhibit either in our Camel Ride track, which is visible from our Pavilion 4, or in our zoo yard next to our donkey and our alpacas from 9:30 in the morning till about 11, and then we will have a supervised interaction time from 2:30 to 3:30, where there will be a zookeeper in the yard in their exhibit with them, kind of interpreting, telling guests about them, and kind of monitoring their behavior. And then again in the evening from about 5:30 to 7:30. They will either be on exhibit here once again in the Camel Ride track, or in their yard in the zoo.
Awesome. Cool. So come check them out.
Yeah, they're lots of fun. So as I said, we're looking forward to that and getting friendlier and kind of really giving guests a cool experience.
Yeah, for sure. Cool.
Okay, well, do we want to go and see our camels?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, we'll see if they let us walk by them. Boys. You're okay. You're okay. You're okay. Oh, yeah. Oh, we're gonna run. Oh, we're gonna run. They say there's a lot of people up here.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So Tim is going to kind of demonstrate one of our encounters that we do here. So every day at 1 and 3 o'clock we do a camel encounter. So that's an opportunity for our guests to feed our camels and also to learn a little bit more about them as well. So we feed them either romaine lettuce or kale. Those are they're nice long leaves, so especially the little kids feel comfortable kind of handing it to a camel. So we're going to turn it over to Tim now, and he's going to tell us a little bit about CJ here.
Hello, Tim.
Hello. Yes, as Leanne said, this is CJ. He is one of our dromedary camels. So he is about 7 feet at the shoulder. If his head were fully extended, it's probably about 8.5, 9 feet up. But CJ loves kale, and the best way to do it is just to hand it to him, let go when he grabs it. We have a lot of questions asked about him, but one of the main ones, I guess, is where are they native to? But they are native to the Middle East, so North Africa, Middle East, and they have a feral population out in Australia as well. The hump? Yes, the hump. What is in the hump? The hump is actually fat reserves as opposed to water. So they can use that fat and metabolize it to nutrients and water when they need it. But
This may be a silly question, but is that kale then?
yes, it is.
Okay.
This is kale. He also loves romaine lettuce, pretty much any kind of lettuce, to be honest. He loves carrots, sweet potatoes, apples. And on really, really hot days, we like to put in a popsicle. So we blend up all the nice fresh fruits and veggies we get, put it into a big bucket, freeze it, and then hang that up back there where you see those
Oh, yum, yum.
bags of hay hanging.
Somehow I don't think that would be quite as appetizing for a human.
If you're a keeper on a hot day, it looks kind of appetizing.
The mango one.
The mango ones, I love mango. So anything mango, I will go for.
Yeah.
One thing CJ is very good at is target training. Hi, buddy. Butt lettuce. Butt kale in this case, right? So target training is basically getting the camel to listen to you. So he has to touch his nose to the ball, which is what I'm going to have him do in a second. CJ, target. Good boy.
Aw.
And for that, he gets a nice, good treat.
Yeah.
So CJ was trained here to do rides, as he does rides occasionally. So he'll be doing rides either today or tomorrow, I'm not quite sure. But he is trained. He's very good. We train him. Oh yes. One aspect of target training comes into play when we do painting with him. We put paint on his nose, then he has to target instead of a paper. He targets. Instead of a ball, he targets paper.
That's cool.
So we put the paper up. He touches it. Sorry, babe. Okay, you want to do this again? Target. Good boy,
Aw.
CJ. Good boy. Sometimes he's a handful, but most of the time he's like this. He's super gentle, super chill. Very lovable.
He loves interacting with our guests.
And he's the younger of the two between him
Yes,
and...
he is.
Yes.
Gomer, come here.
CJ here is 9. Gomer, who is coming out of the barn currently, is about 12.
Here, Gomer.
And he is still definitely the dominant of our two camels.
He is the king.
So another question is, where did we get these guys? CJ came from a ranch out, in Tennessee, and Gomer came from one out in Colorado. Good boys. As you can tell, Gomer loves kale just as much as CJ.
It's funny, CJ's got curlier hair than...
Yes. So that's an easy
Gomer.
way to tell them apart. Is
Yeah.
their hair texture. Also their size. If you see them
Right.
standing next to each other, CJ is the taller of the
Right.
two.
They do look quite different. I didn't realize that.
But their hair texture is what I tell guests most often to tell them apart. You can't see it as much on CJ right now, just because he's shedding out his winter coat. But in the winter, he has this curly head of hair. So it's a really easy way to tell them apart. CJ, put it up. So when we do camel encounters, we like to talk a lot about kind of some of the specific designs that help them survive in the desert. So a lot of people ask about their lip. They think, oh, did something happen to their lip, that they have a split lip? Nothing happened to their lip. God has designed the camel, actually all camelids have that split lip, which is very helpful in the desert because these guys are browsers. So what that means is they're not going to completely graze an area free of vegetation. Instead, what they'll do is they'll kind of pick and choose leaves from different plants, different items, so that when they come back through an area, there is vegetation there again for them. So that is something guests tend to notice, is the split lip. It does serve a really good purpose. So it's almost like our fingers in a way, in a sense. That's kind of how they use that lip. Also, we get questions a lot. If you notice, you can see it on both of them. Their knees, they've got these big old calluses on their knees. And then they also have on their chest, they've got this big thing. It's called a pedestal. It's also got kind of a big callus. Those are called stifling pads. All camels are born with them, but they harden up and get thicker as the camel matures. Those are basically every single point that the camel, when they sit down, is going to touch the hot sand, so that when they touch that hot sand, they're not going to burn themselves. Those pads are nice and thick and keep them from burning themselves on the hot sand. So just another cool design that God has given the camel to help them survive and thrive in the desert.
We had a comment from one of our viewers, Claudia, that she rode CJ with her grandma.
Oh, that's awesome. Yes, we have, as I said, we have tons of people, all ages, ride these guys. It's a really cool experience. So I highly encourage people when they come here to ride them, and say, hey, I've sat on a camel. It's just a really cool, riding a horse is really cool, but riding these guys, it's similar but completely different from riding a horse. So if you're coming to the museum or ARC, go and get your Camel Ride. So it's an experience. A lot of people tell us it's on their bucket list of things to do.
Yes, it is a lot of fun. I can personally attest to that. It's a neat experience.
Okay, well, we're going to move over to Zoey and Cletus and see if we can get them to come over for us. And then we're going to come back, and we're actually going to throw some watermelons in our camel yard for enrichment for these guys. So we'll see if they can break a whole watermelon. We shall see. Andy has our watermelons here.
A little early, apparently.
You're fine.
We had a question, Leanne, real quick about the camels. Do all camelids have eyelids that protect them from the sand?
Yes. So all camels have, they're called nicetating membranes. So it's very similar to something found in your cats. It basically acts kind of like a windshield wiper. So they can cover their eyes with that, and then the sand kind of sticks to that, and then they pull them back, and then basically all the sand just kind of goes into the corners of their eyes so that they can see.
Wow.
So it's very helpful in a sandstorm to have that membrane. Camels also have a lot of thick eyelashes. That also helps keep sand out of their eyes as well. And they can close their nose completely, so in a sandstorm they will breathe through that slit in their lip. Okay, so this is Zoey and Cletus. Zoey is our Zorse and Cletus is our Zonkey. These two guys are here at the museum to represent the concept of the biblical kind, that Noah didn't have to take 2 horses and 2 donkeys and 2 zebras on the ark. He would have taken 2 of the horse kind. So these guys are a huge hit. People love them. Not a whole lot of people know what a zebroid is. So they're always a great teaching point for us. So usually several times a week, we will do feeding sessions or animal encounters with them. We'll talk a little bit about the history of the zebroids, where they were first bred, how they were used, why we have them here. We'll talk a little bit about speciation as well with them. Another fun aspect is we do target training with these guys, and it's really fun because we'll have kids either hold the target sticks for us or also reward them with the kale as well. So what we'll do is we'll usually station Cletus at one end. He's actually in his spot, and Zoe at the other end. That just helps cut down on any food aggression because our Zonkey here loves to eat. So he gets a little bit food aggressive. So we try to reduce that as much as possible. So we're going to have him to come over here. Cletus. Tim, can you guys go? Good boy. So when we're doing an encounter, what we'll usually do is we'll usually have him touch the stick, and then he'll get a reward of some lettuce. So kids really love this. They feel like they're helping us train. So it's really fun for them, and it's a great opportunity. Do you not like the kale today? He says, maybe I don't like kale today. Normally they like kale. Okay, well, have some of that. It gives us a chance to teach a little bit about some of the training we do here. So we do positive reinforcement training with our animals. So basically everything is positive. So once they do a behavior that we are asking them to do, then they'll get a reward. But there is no negative consequence for them not doing a behavior. So it helps build a relationship between us and the animals. So especially with these guys, we usually do a zebra training session where one of our keepers that works a lot with these guys will get in there, and we'll do some target training, just do some other work with them as well. We usually do that in the afternoons. Monday afternoon at 3:30 is generally a time when we do a training session basically for our guests to watch. And then one of us will be out here kind of interpreting, explaining why we're doing those specific things with them, and kind of explaining all of that to our guests as well. So it's really fun. So I just kind of wanted to quickly show you guys some of the cool things you can do here in the zoo when you visit. We do have a schedule that we do every day.
Yes, I was
that
about
we
to
post at our gates. So you can kind of, if you visit us, especially in the morning, if you visit us, you can plan to come back out in the afternoon and do some activities in the afternoon.
I was going to mention that because you guys do such a good job of outlining what's going on throughout the day, so that when guests come, you can check out, like she was saying, check out the list, the calendar, and don't miss a thing.
Yes, it's tons of fun. I also recommend coming out in the mornings. Kind of skip the crowd and get out here and see some of the animals being really active in the mornings, because a lot of our animals, especially our wallabies, they're very active early in the morning and then again in the evening. So we have a lot of people ask us midday, why aren't the wallabies out? It's because it's hot and they're sleeping.
Well, it's also cooler for guests in the morning to take a walk in the gardens and see the zoo before it gets really hot.
Yeah, I strongly recommend checking out the zoo and the gardens in the morning, and then maybe again in the evening before you leave for the day.
Absolutely.
Now, if you want a camel ride, you do have to come out from 1 to 4:45, but come out in the morning or evening when it's a little cooler, and you'll see the animals exhibiting a lot more behaviors, being a lot more active at this time.
Yeah,
So.
that's great.
Okay, well, we're going to have Andy and Tim throw in these watermelons for our camels, so we'll go back over here and see what these camels will do. I don't think they've ever had a whole watermelon.
Oh, wow.
So we're going to see what happens.
I'm jealous. I love watermelon.
Yeah, so when I went to get produce this week, they had watermelons, and I said, yes, please.
Yes. Perfect weather for it.
So.
It's an alpaca zebra. I saw one of these in Africa. Or alpaca albino.
That's a Zorse. So these guys get very, very excited about their enrichment. So we use environmental enrichment. We try to mimic a lot of natural behaviors, such as foraging. With the camels, we use a lot of puzzle feeders, like a rolling puzzle feeder, because camels spend a lot of time walking in the wild. So in captivity, we want to mimic that behavior as well. Oh boy. We'll
Now,
see
can
what
they
happens.
bite into it, or how do they get it open?
We're going to see how they We're going to see what they do. So they've never had whole watermelons, so we may have to at some point help them with these.
Yeah. In the meantime,
They don't
it's
have
fun trying.
they don't have as big of a mouth as a hippo, so we shall see. Up,
Oh,
up,
there
up,
we go. Got a little bit.
up. That's what I thought they would do. So we've given Gomer up there some like baby watermelons, but he's never gotten a full size one. And he's basically did what CJ did, where he kind of got it braced against something and then like started pulling and ripping at it.
Right.
Gomer says, guys, I need some assistance.
Do they eat the rind as well?
Oh yes, yes. So these guys will eat basically every part of the watermelon.
I don't think these are.
The camels, they're pretty much there's very few produce items that these guys won't eat.
That's funny.
And they will eat it all. So we'll give them whole cantaloupes, whole watermelons like this. It's a lot of fun for them. As you can see, they kind of have to figure out how to get into the watermelon, use their brains a little bit, but they're very food motivated. So basically anything food related, they will eventually figure out how to get.
If anybody has any questions about the camels or the Zorse and Zonky, feel free to leave those in the comments.
The alpaca again?
Now these guys are out most of the time, right? So guests will see them.
Yeah, so these guys are on exhibit. The only time they might be off exhibit is in the mornings when we first open at 9:30. It depends if we have their yard completely cleaned or not. So in the morning, the camels and the zebroids, they get their grain and their first hay in their stalls. So that means that we can safely get in there and clean their yards, do any maintenance work in their yards we need to do, because these guys are big animals, so things get damaged,
Right.
so we have to fix things, and also just for keeper safety.
Sure.
These guys are very large, so we're very careful when we're cleaning with these guys that they're safe, we're safe.
Wow, he's really gotten into the watermelon
Look at
there.
him. He's going. Gomer up there hasn't quite. Andy, you might have to go and split his for him. He's looking at us like, but guys.
That face.
That face though. He probably doesn't want CJ to get it, so he's like, hey, can somebody come here and save me?
Please don't feed the camels.
I want them to spit on me.
Yes, they're getting watermelon today. Oh, there we go.
That's one way to do it.
Oh, now see, Gomer's like, oh yeah. These guys also like pumpkins, so in the fall, so it's summer right now, so they're getting all the melons right now. But then this fall, we'll start giving them pumpkins, which
Yeah.
are really fun to watch them play with those. CJ likes to pick them up and just carry them around like a ball.
Right.
So, CJ loves carrying stuff around. So we'll sometimes give them balls, and then CJ will actually pick them up and kind of carry them around the yard.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Is he just playing or?
Yes.
Yeah.
A lot of times what he'll do is he'll pick it up, run it around, and then tease our zonkey with it. So he'll try to stick his head over and kind of like try to get our zonkey to play with him.
It's cute.
He is very much he's definitely our troublemaker. He likes to have fun. He has a lot of fun.
We had a question from Dana. She asked, have there ever been crossbreedings between the two types of camels? I guess dromedary and...
Yes, Bactrian.
Yep, Bactrian.
Yes, there are. They're called F1 hybrids. Another name for them is Toolies. They are very large, and they have basically one very, very, very big hump.
Wow.
So imagine like CJ here, but thicker and with a bigger hump is basically what a Toolie looks like. There's actually one at the Louisville Zoo. They actually have a Toolie.
Oh, wow. So is the single hump the dominant gene then? Since if they breed, they usually end up with one hump?
It seems like that.
Yeah.
So every time you hybridize a Bactrian and a dromedary, you end up with a camel with one.
Really one big hump? Yeah, that's interesting.
So there's a couple differences between the Bactrian, which are the two hump, and the dromedary camels. Dromedary camels are quite a bit taller than Bactrians. The Bactrian is a lot shorter, but they're very stocky, so they're a lot thicker. That's got to do with the fact that they live in more of the mountainous deserts of Asia. So they're a little bit more stocky and thick to kind of get through those mountainous terrains. And of course, then the two humps is the largest difference. Also, the Bactrian camel is a lot more hairy. They have a much more woolly coat because it does get quite a bit colder in the Asian deserts than it does in North Africa and the Middle East.
Yeah. It's funny that these two can be the same type, but then have different hair.
Yes.
Just like people, like
Just
some
like people.
curly-haired people, some straight-haired people.
There is quite a variation in dromedary camels. So if you go to Ark Encounter, the dromedary camels they use for rides there are quite a bit shorter than these guys, and also have a very short hair coat as well. These guys have a thicker hair coat for whatever reason, and both of them are quite a bit larger than the camels at Ark Encounter. So in the Middle East, there's really no breeds of camel, but different regions will kind of have different types of camels. So kind of like, think of how different breeds of cattle developed in Europe.
Right.
Same in the Middle East, they're not like named breeds,
Right.
but different characteristics. Of course, if you breed a couple generations, you're going to have different characteristics kind of become common in that population of camels.
I noticed the difference in color too among some of these two, and then the ones at the Ark.
Yes.
Some lighter, some darker.
Yeah. There are some albino or all-white camels. Of course, that is a recessive gene. My favorite one that I want to get is a really dark chocolate color. So it's like a dark brown chocolate color.
I don't think I've ever seen a camel that color.
They're not very common, but you can find them.
Wow.
They're really pretty.
Yeah.
But compared to these guys, they're so much darker than these guys. But once again, just variation in colors and hair types. It's amazing in the animal kingdom how much variation we can see even within one species.
That's awesome. Very cool. Well, thank you everyone so much for watching, and thank you, Leanne, for showing us around. And we hope you'll come check out the camels and the Zorse and Zonkey. Well, said zebra, not zebra. Zorse and Zonkey and the two new mini steers. So we'll see you soon.